Innovation in the oil industry from coffee. Who would have thought that an article published in a magazine explaining how to make decaffeinated coffee would be the inspiration for the development of a unique solution in the oil and gas industry? This is how engineer Fabio Manessa's Passarelli had the insight to create HISEP, high-pressure separation. This technology will remove, while still at the bottom of the sea, the excess gas rich in CO2 present in some pre-salt fields and, thus, will make possible what was previously technically unfeasible. With the potential to increase production and field efficiency, in addition to reducing costs, the solution has already been patented by Petrobras. In the process of extracting caffeine from coffee, CO2, when pressurized, behaves differently than when it is a gas. When I read this article, I imagined that, if it was possible to do this in this process, I could perfectly do the same with oil, says Passarelli, who considers himself very curious. And not just about oil. I like reading, learning and understanding what's behind everything. When the mind is open, we can extract solutions from things that apparently have no connection, he points out. And it is to this open mind for the new that Passarelli credits his creativity, which even has a date to be celebrated, April 21st, World Creativity and Innovation Day. People think I'm technically very creative, but I actually consider myself a person who thinks everything is worth it. There are people who have a closed mind, are afraid of what is new. I have no prejudices, says the consultant who works on the Libra project, adding that fear and shame block creativity. You have to expose yourself, be courageous to break patterns. Anyone who manages to implement their idea is ethical and is not afraid to go against the majority, nor does he remain silent in a comfort zone, he adds. And is it possible to train creativity? Passarelli thinks so, and says that it was ballroom dancing that made him have this perception. Of course it depends on each person's life story, but in general I think we can exercise our imaginative side. I discovered that anyone can dance because there is a technique. So, even though we weren't Fred Astaire, by being so persistent, we started to execute the movement correctly. In the same way, anyone can exercise their creativity, he says. Films and series as inspiration for research. If dancing and reading articles are inspiration for Fabio, petroleum chemist Sidelmara Helena Qualo points to films and series as great allies of creativity. They make me look at my work from another perspective. Even though they are different things, I like it when I watch films or series that seek to solve problems, says the researcher. Since 2013 at our Research and Development Center, CENPES, Sidelmara divides her time between the laboratory and preparing reports and technical assistance. Although we have to follow rigorous procedures, most of the time the experiment does not go as planned and we have to look for other ways to find the answer we are looking for. Therefore, I think that research work already involves having a certain dose of creativity, she says. Petroleum chemistry studies the impact of our activity on some organisms, through fish bile, for example, and the application of chemical dispersants in the event of an oil spill. We are working to develop new methods that make performing analyses easier or using a smaller volume of samples. Listening to classical music helps me stay focused and keeps my mind more attentive and creative, says Sidelmara, for whom creativity can also be exercised. Some people are born with this characteristic and, for them, it may be easier to give free rein to their imagination. But, with training, it is possible to see other possibilities for doing whatever you want, she concludes. And how to become more creative. There is a myth that people are either born creative or not and that this cannot be changed. But, in fact, it is something that can be trained and needs to be encouraged, says systems analyst Glauco Pabst, who, in partnership with lawyer Maria Fernanda Caravina and 3 other collaborators, developed the Creativity in Innovation Training, which is part of the Petrobras Soft Skills Development Program. And Maria Fernanda already gives the first tip. Ideas can be improved. It is very difficult for someone to create something completely new, from scratch. It's cool to use references and combine what has already been seen to create a different solution, she says, adding that getting your hands dirty is essential. Start creating and sharing with others to get other views and test your idea. It's not just meant to be in your head. You have to start putting it out into the world, she says. The two experts remember that everyone has their own creative process. Listening to music, reading books outside your area of expertise, watching movies, having a hobby in doing sports are some examples. My ideas always come when I'm hiking. That's when my mind is lighter, highlights Maria Fernanda. Glauco cites two moments, playing with his children and a new activity, clowning. When the topic of creativity entered my life, I ended up taking this course that transformed me. I realized that this is the art of improvisation and that it takes advantage of your own mistakes and turns them into laughter, he says. Another tip is to talk to people who have activities very different from yours. Speaking to people who are not from legal, I saw other ways of working, of achieving a result. This teaches you to see situations from a different perspective, points out Maria Fernanda, who won the Legal Innovation Award last year. And the next step, after unleashing creativity, is innovation. Take advantage of this increase in your creative process and start innovating. An idea is merely an idea. Innovating is taking this idea and transforming it into something productive, concludes Glauco. Tips to increase your creativity. Number 1. Find out what might be holding back your creativity and break down those barriers. Number 2. You have to not be afraid to expose yourself and be courageous to break patterns and take risks. Number 3. Discover which bridges can help you in the process of being more creative. Number 4. Listening to music, reading books outside your area of expertise, watching movies, having a hobby and doing sports are some habits that stimulate creativity. Number 5. Conversations with people who have activities very different from yours help you see situations from a different perspective. Number 6. Discover the processes, techniques and tools that can help you in your quest to increase your creativity. Finally, number 7. Start creating and sharing with other colleagues to get other views and test your idea. I invite you to watch our videos about the pre-salt layer and the history of Petrobras. To access, just click on the respective image available on the screen.